we're tackling the last of the Tomb Raider Top Cow one-shots that are in this second Colossal collection, or, if you're reading an older printing, this fourth archive edition. We'll start with Epiphany, and this is written by Dan Jurgens. And essentially, this is bridging his comics to Tomb Raider The Last Revelation, and dealing with the Von Croys. And the less said about this, the better. It's very good, though. I give it a good 4.5 out of 5. I was genuinely impressed because Dan Jurgens, although he started this comic, it was at a time when Tomb Raider was kind of in a weird transition with Angel of Darkness and Chronicles. Chronicles being like a filling the gaps kind of thing. We need to have a Tomb Raider game out now, so we're going to put Chronicles out, and it was terrible. And Angel of Darkness was a catastrophic failure because it's a broken game. So he came in at that time where we didn't know where the comics were going to go, and he took it in a different direction. So it's nice that he comes back to tie this stuff all together, and it's a nice change of pace to go back to Lara actually shooting people, because Fiona Avery made her like a weird pacifist. But don't worry, we'll get to that some more. Next we go to Takeover, which is written by James Bonney. James Bonney, I think I've been calling him Jason Bonney this whole time. James Bonney. That's embarrassing. He was the last author to really write the main comic line. And his stuff, he started with the Angel of Darkness tie-in comic and then went from there. And his stuff took a little bit for me to get used to. But this is a fun one. Essentially, Lara is going to an art gala event in LA, where it's taken over by bank robbing terrorists, a la Die Hard, with a little bit of Under Siege in there, where she has to team up with a waitress who's an aspiring actress. It's fun. It's a really fun one. Out of all of these, this was probably my personal favorite story-wise. It's just fun, and there's like a little bit of an Indiana Jones thing at the end, which I was pleasantly surprised by. I would have to give this a good 4.8 out of 5. Next, we move on to what could best be described as a fever dream, which is called Arabian Nights, and this is by Fiona Avery. Essentially, Lara's in a dig in like the Afghanistan region. She gets sucked into like a genie's lamp and essentially has to escape with some people. It's weird. It's really weird. This was one I was warned by. Anya kind of warned me about this in the comment section of the last review, that this one was going to be like weird, really weird. And I agree with her on a lot of her points on this. Lara's motivation, especially after Journeys, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Her pacifism is back, which is just weird. I just don't care for that. It strikes me as so there's a Steven Seagal movie, again with Steven Seagal today. It's a movie called The Glimmer Man, and it's a really terrible movie. But during the making of that, Steven Seagal, in one of his many bizarre cultural appropriation things, kind of buddied up to like the Dalai Lama and became like named like some sort of deity by the Dalai Lama, allegedly. Because with Steven Seagal, everything is allegedly, unless it's Jean LaBelle choking him till he pooped. I genuinely believe that exists, and that was a thing that happened. But anyway, he decided he was a pacifist and he didn't want to kill people in his movies anymore. And Fiona Avery stuff, in hindsight, kind of all like, it strikes me as that, where like, we have to make Lara a pacifist because she promised a mentor that's only in the Journeys. stuff that she would never use her guns to kill anyone again. It's just, ugh. I don't like it. The art in this is neat, but the story is kind of bonkers and nonsensical, and I don't care for it. Out of all these one-shots, it's probably the worst one. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just not saying it's that good. There is a flying carpet chase in this, which is kind of fun. There's some, like, weird imagery, which is why I would recommend reading it. But other than that, you're not going to get... Laura's motives don't make a lot of sense. And, like, it's just peculiar. I give it a 3 out of 5. It's okay. But next, we move on to the grand finale of Top Cow, which is called The Greatest Treasure of All. And this is, again, by Dan Jurgens. And it's kind of nice that we get Dan Jurgens bookending all of, like, Top Cow's Tomb Raider here. And in this, Chase Carver and Laura are in the jungles of South America, I believe. And Laura's been tasked with finding something, and she's keeping Chase Carver in the dark. And so we, spoilers, find out that she's rescuing a young missionary girl who's been kidnapped by ruffians, essentially, and they befriend a lion, and it's a really good little story, and it clearly happens early on in the Dan Jurgens run, because Chase Carver's still, like, super selfish in it. But the big thing with this is the hyper-realistic art, which is clearly they photographed models. The art's by Joe Jusko, and essentially what it appears to be is they photographed people and light boxed over them, because it's really, really good art. And I have just about never had a problem with the art in these Top Cow Tomb Raider comics, but this is above and beyond, like, most stuff. So I highly, highly recommend The Greatest Treasure of All. It just shows that Laura is a good person, and that she's not in it for the fortune and the glory. She sometimes will just help people out. And I give this one a good 4.7 out of 5. It's worth your time to check out. Now, technically, there are some other things that we will get to in these colossal collections, but that's going to be saved for another review. But this is the end of the comics. We're done now. Of course, we'll have the Survive stuff that comes out at the end of this month. But essentially, we're at the end of an era right here. And I'm a little sad. It's been a big goal of mine to read all of these Top Cow Tomb Raider comics for probably well over a decade. And I've done it. And I feel like it's like a big achievement. And I'm not going to lie when I said this is some of the best comic book reading I have ever done for the channel. It's some of the best comic book reading I've ever done, period. I can't recommend these Tomb Raider comics enough. Sure, there are some bad ones intermixed, but for the most part, it's comic book writing that you would never see today. It's special to the 2000s, and it just reminds me of my childhood. A lot of the stuff in this just reminds me of how comics used to be before all the really getting preachy and political became a thing again in the 2010s. And we will get to that when we get to the Dark Horse stuff, because I've not read all of it, but I will reflect on some of it, because some of that stuff I did read while it came out, unlike this stuff where this was a goal of mine to read for a good chunk of my life. I remember seeing, like, some of the trades of the Dan Jurgens stuff when I was a very young kid and wanting to read it, but my mother wouldn't get it for me. So it's nice to finally done this and check this off my list. Would I read this stuff again? Absolutely. I think at some point on this channel we will re-look at all this stuff and look at it as a more of a as a whole more than issue to issue, like I kind of have done. Also, it'd just be nice to just read this stuff and not have to review it. That yeah, I highly recommend checking out these Colossal collections, picking them up. I think the first Colossal collection just got a reprint, so go check them out. It's well worth your time to do so. Anyway, have a nice day.